A nation is not its borders or the boundaries of its landmass. It is an assemblage of diverse people with a common purpose and a shared vision.
Imagine a place, a hub, where young, uprightly mobile professionals are infused with the spirit and character of Nehemiah.
At Nehemiahs Court, we equip individuals, build nations.
Nehemiahs Court is a hub, a hangout, a family, a collection of young individuals, young professionals who have a passion for a better life and above all for a better Nigeria.
In Nehemiahs Court, you feel the love, you feel the warmth, you feel the bond.
I mean, this is home, this is family.
We meet, we discuss, we bring societal involvements to the bare front.
Best place to be is a congregation of people that have like minds.
We build the individuals.
The movement that will produce in Nigeria you pray for.
And I believe Nehemiahs Court to be instrumental to that future.
My name is Precious Kenko, aka Kenki Fresh, and I'm a member of Nehemiahs Court.
Come to Nehemiahs Court.
Trust me, you won't be enlisted in this army.
If you're not part of that group, you're missing something.
Join us at Nehemiahs Court.
I'm in.
6:15 is the time.
Welcome to Nehemiahs Court. Please, with a standing ovation, let's put our hands together as we welcome Mr. Fela Duropo.
So I want to try and do something in about 20 minutes so that we don't take too much of your time. You guys can get back and still have the best of your public holiday. I want to talk to you about something called PVC. And I know because many of you think, oh, Fela has just run for the elections, that I really want to come here and talk. And no, thank God campaign is over. You don't think I'm marketing? But PVC really stands for something I call the personal value code. Personal value code. I love it when my sister, Binta, was saying that PVC for her was personality, values, and competence. So you know I listened. Please remember that it's not what you heard that is going to make the difference. It's what you remember. And which is why many times it's, you know, the best thing you can do for yourself is either to record, take pictures, but most importantly, write things that you can go back and listen to. And then listen with an open heart. Don't be distracted by anything else than what you're going to take away. So you just watched a video. And the video was done in 2009, or was a video about a project we did in 2009 called Mushi Makeover. And one of the things that I don't think Steve Harris, who's somebody that I've had the privilege of mentoring, and who himself has become a great mentor to this generation, one of the things that he didn't mention at that time was that Lagos State had just issued an edict. And that was what we heard on radio when we were driving back from the training hall. And the edict was that as by January 10, 2010, any house that was on the high street that was not painted was going to be surcharged. They never followed through with it, but it was a threat. And they had actually passed it into law. And they had just announced it on radio that the Lagos State House of Assembly had just said every house on the high streets of Lagos had to be painted, and the deadline was January 10, 2010. This was sometime in September 2009. And here we were driving through, trying to cut out traffic. So we had managed to drive through because we heard there was terrible traffic in one other. So anyway, I think we must have been coming from Guarantee Trust Bank training school. So we decided to go through the, what do you call it? Western Avenue. And so we went through the back, come through Mushi, and then go through. And then we heard, and as I was going through, I was looking at several houses. Some of them, it was clear they had never been painted before. And they were not new houses. I could tell that the reason why they were not painted was not because the people didn't want to paint. They just couldn't. And so the question was, how are these people going to be able to paint their house? Now, and as I was talking, my tone was getting higher. And Harris and the other guys in the car were like, FD, no reach that one now. And they will, maybe, I don't know, maybe government will sort it out. I'm like, how can we not empower people and yet demand of them to operate at a level of excellence that we did not build them for? FD, take it easy. Government will sort it out. And at one point in time, I hit the steering. We are the government. Didn't Jesus say that anyone that believes upon me, greater things shall he do than he is done? They said, yes. By this time they were shaking. I said to them, did the Bible not say that unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder? I said, who are they talking about? He said, Jesus. I said, so if Jesus carried the government on his shoulder, then he has told us, if you believe upon me, greater things shall you do. I said, man, the government is on your shoulder, man. Tell somebody next to you the government is on your shoulder. And I think that if you ask me what the biggest transformation that we require in this country is that simple understanding that the transformation of Nigeria from a blessed country, which you and I know, when we look at how much God has blessed this nation in terms of mineral resources, natural resources, and even human resources. If you look at there is nobody that doubts that Nigeria is blessed. The challenge is, we're a blessed country but have not yet become a great nation. And if you look at all the nations that people are today trying to run away to, and let me quickly say to you a few statistics that you need to know. Do you know that 21 families are leaving Nigeria permanently every week through the Murtala Mohammed Airport? Permanently. Do you know that in every week, 2,800 people will cross the border between here and Niger, Chad, just to be able to get to the Libyan border to see how they can get onto the other side? Whilst I was running the campaign, a gentleman, one of the drivers that had taken me around, said to me that he had tried to go to Europe through Libya and had to pay to be returned because the journey through the desert, he saw death. Do you know that many of the people that will not make it to Europe will not even make it to the Mediterranean Sea? Many of them die in the desert. He said that they had been going in the desert for 3 days at one point in time. They had no water because they give them one can of water. He said one woman told her son, take my water, let me die. At the back of a pickup. He had paid 500,000 naira. I'm thinking 500,000 naira. I didn't have that when I started my business. My wife started House of Tara with 15,000 naira. You were able to mobilize 500,000 naira to travel. And he told me that 500,000 naira will not get you a seat on the boat. 500 naira is for standing. If you want a seat in the middle of the boat with a life jacket, it is 2 million naira. This was what he told me. So if you can mobilize 2 million naira and yet will not start a business in a nation that actually officially crossed 200 million sometime in the month of June, in the month of April, by the world population count, then the question is, what is it that That is the problem of Nigeria. What is it that causes people who are not Nigerians to get onto business class to fly into Nigeria every day? How is it that, what is it South Africans know about be the ones to set up Spa? And we still don't have a Nigerian supermarket till today. What is it that they know that will cause them to set up ShopRite? And we are looking, we are buying. The smallest ShopRite in Ilorin, which is up, as of 2 years ago, every day was making 200 million naira. And we are buying, but we are not setting up. What is the problem? Can I tell you what I think it is? Belief. We don't believe in our nation, even when we see the opportunities, but most importantly, we don't believe in ourselves. And the fact that we don't believe in our nation is to a large extent because we don't believe in what we call of the nation. It's very interesting that somebody had asked me, fella, you've been talking about Nigeria, and you're constantly begging everybody, you go and run for office. We need good people. Nigeria needs good governance. It's the only thing that every great nation has in common. Great nations don't all have the same resources. They don't all have the same size of population. Some of them are in very cold areas, others. But one thing every great nation has is good governance. And good governance is not a big concept, it's a very simple concept. It just means having good people in governance. And when I say good people, I mean people who can deliver. They deliver on the dreams and the aspirations of the populace. People who will know what to do to make things better. And those people are going to get there when the people who want things better know what to do to get those other guys there. I want you to hear what I just said to you. Two things are going to happen to get good governance. Number one, that the people who know what to do to make things better will stand up. Say, I will lay down myself to make things better for this nation. But the second thing that must happen is that people who want things to be better must also stand up and then push those other guys that have laid themselves down until we are able to make it happen. This was what the entire 2019 election was about for me. I was very clear. I never told anybody God told me that I was going to win an election. What I said was that God told me to run so that good people can rise. And so I told somebody from the beginning, I said, I will have won the election long before February if somebody who was not going to vote before, because of the work we were doing, decided to rise up and go and get their PVC. I said, the moment that has happened, I've already won. I said, if somebody who was not going to run for office before and will never have imagined that they will be able to stand the heat of campaigning for whatever the level, if they would stand, I've won. I said, if somebody would go and join a political party, whether it's one of the major ones or one of the new ones, and maybe even volunteer to be an executive, I said, I've won. If somebody would volunteer to be a part of INEC, I've won already. So my numbers were not about whether who wins an election. I knew that it was a process. I told everybody, it will be a process. However, let us start. When is the best time to start? That's all. But you realize that something very interesting happened. How many of you truly want Nigeria to be great? Whether you are going to leave now and then come back when we have made it great. How many of you want Nigeria to be? No, for real. Okay, how many of you believe that what God has invested in Nigeria with good governance and good leadership at all levels, local government, state government, federal government, and also public sector, private sector, if we got good governance at all these levels, how many of you think that Nigeria truly has the potential to be great? So guys, the one that we cannot do, God has done for us. Everything that is left is what we can do. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. But guess what? People still did not believe. So I'll give you statistics that some of you might find startling. So in the 2019 elections, 72 million people went as far as getting their permanent voters cards. 84 million voters cards were issued. But 12 million of those voters cards had, were only up to temporary voters cards with which people couldn't vote. Okay. There were 108 million people above the age of 18 as at this year. 108 million people. So you can imagine that if we got to 2084, do the math and see then that's 24 million people that did not even bother to even get engaged in the process at all, that were above the age of 18. But of the 72 million voters cards, permanent voters cards that were collected, only 27 million people voted for the big parties, including rigging, underage voting, voter result manipulation. When they did everything they could do together, only 27 million votes were counted. Not 27 million people. 27 million votes. Are you with me? So that meant that 45 million people did not choose the existing or the established parties because they were not very happy with them. But that's not the big deal. For the first time, 1 million people voted for fringe candidates. That never happened before. So 44 million people that had voters' cards did not vote. And if you ask most of them, why did you not vote? Can you remember most what they said? My votes will not count. To that particular one, I always used to say, would you buy a pen that you are sure will not write? You won't. Are you going to invest in a television that you are sure can never show? No. So what is it about votes that makes politicians go and buy it if they know that it will not count? Why would politicians go and buy something that they know don't count? What is it that the area boy knows about his own vote that he will collect 4,000 naira for, and yet an intellectual banker does not know and thinks that her own or his own will not count? Again, it was essentially many people who thought to themselves, I am only but one, and the system is too large for me to make a difference. What I wanted to come and share with you very quickly is to help you understand that Nigeria just needs nation builders, not citizens. If we can get 180, 190, 200 million Nigerians to become nation builders, Nigeria will transform into the world's most desirable nation to live in less than 6 months. Because you don't have to be the most beautiful country to be the most desirable nation to live in. You just have to be the place where people find hope and opportunity. Hope of a brighter future and opportunity to live a good life. And once you can find those two things anywhere, people run there. Does anybody understand where I'm coming from? So you ask me, who is a nation builder? And for me, I think that a nation builder has four characteristics, regardless of what you do. The first characteristic of a nation builder is someone who, A, accepts responsibility for the well-being of the nation. Not just their personal well-being, not just their family's well-being, but the well-being of a nation. Meaning that to a nation builder, no matter how well they are doing, if their nation is not doing well, they know that they are not doing well enough, that there's more to be done. But they must accept responsibility. They must understand that nobody else is meant to fix your nation other than you. that when God planted you in Nigeria, God had given to you everything that was required to ensure that Nigeria was a better place by the time you die than the way it was when you were born. That if your nation is worse off by the time you die than the way it was when you were born, you have been an absolute waste of time and resources. That you have failed the heart of God. That the hope of his calling has been dashed. The well-being of Nigeria is not the responsibility of government. It's our responsibility. But two, or what I call B, nation builders must believe. Somebody please say with me, believe. Nation builders must believe. They must believe in the potential of their nation, but more importantly, they must believe that their generation has what it takes to maximize the opportunities and to fulfill the potential of that nation. If I were to ask how many young people here believed enough to cast a vote, regardless of who they casted it for, you'll be shocked. Because most people just did not believe. C, nation builders must commit. And they must commit everything they have today for the nation that they want tomorrow. So they must commit their thoughts, their time, their energy, their resources. They must commit their net worth. They must commit their network. They must do something. They must sacrifice something. People think it was, why does he, who does he think he is? Wants to become president. President. I want a better nation. And if I can do anything, whatever, whether it wins, it does not win, succeeds, does not succeed, at least I'm doing something. And I don't know whether you've noticed that the people who are doing something actually don't have enough time to talk about other people. Have you noticed it? Because somehow what you are doing is consuming you so much that you can't even see who is not doing something or what is wrong with something that somebody else is doing. So by the time you are discussing, that means that you are on break. I don't know whether you get what I'm trying to say. But you see, when you believe that greater is he that is in you than any challenge that is in the world, you receive the boldness and the courage to arise and do something. David walked onto a battleground without knowing it. He just wanted to go and drop off some bread and saw a national crisis that nobody was willing to step up to. He said, is there not a cause? I mean, when you see what's going on with kidnapping in this country, haven't you asked that question, is there not a cause? When you hear that the highest level of maternal mortality, meaning more women are likely to die in childbirth in Nigeria than any other nation, would you not ask, is there not a cause? When you see children roaming the streets at 9:30 in the morning in uniform but without shoes, and they are not in a hurry to go anywhere, shouldn't you ask? When you get to whether in a bus or you are driving or you are riding Okada, but you get to a traffic light and then children come to you with a bowl, should you not ask? But the question is, if there is a cause, then what are you willing to do? What are you willing